What's up, thotties? Welcome back. Music Corner, as always, host Julio Rodriguez. How freaking good is this guy? This is episode 3 of my Hot 100 recap show that is called Bitching About the Hot 100. It is called such because at the beginning of this year, the Hot 100 was terrible. It was awful. For months, we were listening to Disney music because there was nothing else to listen to. But now we're back with a little bit of a midsummer update, and this will be the least bitching episode of Bitching About the Hot 100 thus far. That's not what I meant. The least amount of bitching in an episode so far. And the reason for that is, even though this summer has faced numerous accusations of being kind of dry in terms of the volume of new hit songs moving in this direction, it's also been kind of good. I have to admit, as a chart watcher who is also separately a music critic, the quality of material that's been playing on the radio and racking up streams this summer, generally speaking, has been pretty solid. Certainly better than the last couple of summers, or even really any specific summer in recent memory. And while I think this thing lacks the high-end, world-conquering, great hits that you may come to expect from the summer months, although there is obviously one of those, it's still a pretty good collection of tracks. So here's the top 10 right now. This week it features a handful of tracks that we've talked about before on the show, including my fucking nemesis. In case you're not up on your lavender lore, I fucking hate the Glass Animal song Heat Waves. I think it's terrible. I gave it a bad review when it first came out, and I've taken every opportunity to talk shit about it since. That included last year in October or November when I made a video about how confusing and stupid its rise up the charts was, and I talked about it in both of the first 2 episodes of Bitching About the Hot 100 because its continued success defies all logic. The song is so boring, it's so bland, it's so mush, it's so nothing, and yet it has had this harrowing and dramatic climb from all the way to the back end of the Hot 100 up to number 1 over the course of a year. It was number 1 for numerous weeks earlier this year, which is insane, and now, well over 2 years after this thing came out, it is still in the top 10 of the Hot 100. It is mind-blowing. At the end of the last video, I said that I was finally throwing my hands up in defeat, and I still mean that. I've obviously lost. Heat Waves has obviously won, but I made that statement in confidence because I was really sure that the next time I came to do one of these videos, I wasn't going to have to talk about Heat Waves again, and the fact that I do just makes the defeat feel even more crushing. In much better news, one of the predictions I made in my last video held true, that Lotto's Big Energy continued its momentum and became a pretty big hit throughout the first half of the summer. And while I think it's probably going to be fading in the next couple of weeks, I have to say that I still like this song, even though I don't think it's incredible. I think it's one of the better big rap songs of the year thus far, and more than anything, I think it's just nice that Lotto has continued to maintain this level of exposure, because I thought that her album earlier this year was solid, and I really liked her new single, Pussy. I think she has the potential to be one of the more interesting and better rappers in the popular hip-hop scene going forward, and I'm pulling for her. That's why this song and its continued success doesn't really bother me. A song whose continued success has started to bother me a little bit as it's gone on, admittedly, is the new Jack Harlow song, First Class. I was a little bit reluctant to criticize this thing at first because I understood it. I thought the glamorous sample was interpolated cleverly. I thought it was a very smooth-sounding song. I thought it displayed Jack Harlow's charisma very comfortably, very casually, very easily. I did not expect it to be this big of a hit, and as it's been drilled into my brain all summer, I've certainly gotten less friendly towards it. Really, it comes down to having had to hear that sweet Semen line over and over again. That's really the part that makes me never ever want to hear this song ever again. Who Who told him? Like, did he play that for anybody before releasing this? Like, I don't know how that makes it through quality control. Isn't this guy signed to a major label? Like, who's gonna look at this and go, yeah, this is your big lead single for your new album. We expect it to really do numbers. But hey, what about that pineapple sweet semen line? The last hit that has lingered around all summer and has absolutely dominated the entire summer. Just this week, it is spending its 10th week at number 1. Obviously, Harry Styles, as it was, and in terms of world-conquering hit songs to spend 2 months plus at number 1 on the Hot 100, I think this one is among the best of the best. Not to say that this is one of my favorite songs of the year or even my favorite song on Harry's new album, but it is just a good single. I like it. It's very catchy. It has a consistent energy that builds and builds to a rewarding climax later on in the song. I think it is a good single and one that, despite its ubiquity across all elements of pop culture since its release, I still haven't really gotten tired of or resentful towards. After all of these weeks, I still find myself smiling whenever it comes on. And what's really impressive about these 4 songs is they have survived basically a month straight of album bombs, 2 or more songs landing in the top 10 of the Hot 100 from Bad Bunny, and then Kendrick and Future and Drake, and some of them have also landed persistent hits up and down the charts. The biggest being the Bad Bunny track, Mi Porto Bonito, and the Future and Drake song, Wait For You, although I would also lump into that bunch the Drake and 21 Savage song, Jimmy Cooks, which is slipping this week, but has been in the top 10 for long enough and stable enough that I think it's going to be remembered as among the songs of this summer. And even though I wasn't head over heels for any of these 3 records, I have to say that I actually like all of these songs quite a bit, especially Jimmy Cooks, and given the inconsistencies in quality of all 3 of these albums, I think it would have been really easy for some other worse songs to get pushed and to become radio hits and TikTok smashes. But these 3 are pretty good. They represent some of the better radio-ready tracks on these respective albums, and as I've continued to say throughout this video, I just don't have much to complain about. But the real story of the summer this far on the charts, and I can't believe I'm saying it, it's still awesome and kind of surreal, is of course the Kate Bush 1985 classic, Running Up That Hill. If you somehow don't know, this masterpiece of 80s progressive pop music was revitalized for an appearance in Stranger Things and then became an extremely popular TikTok sound, which resulted in the rapid-fire explosion of streams as it flew up the charts and has now spent, I think, 3 weeks in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5. I could see myself and other people being a bit more hesitant to adopt something like this if it had happened to a worse song or a song that really doesn't feel like it deserves the attention. But this song rules. Kate Bush rules, and here particularly in America, her discography is so underrated historically that I just think it was awesome that this was able to happen. Every person who hears Wuthering Heights or Babushka or Hounds of Love as a result of this song going viral is another person that gets to experience a taste of one of the great progressive pop discographies of all time. And while this formula is sort of working for Metallica's Master of Puppets, which has spent 2 weeks rising up the charts as well, I'm not sure I really see this as something that's going to be repeated anytime soon. I think, one, you'd be hard-pressed to find a show that has as much social sway as Stranger Things. Even songs from, like, Euphoria couldn't do anywhere near these kind of numbers. And for that to so quickly become such a ubiquitous TikTok song, it's a match made in heaven to generate streams, to rise this thing up the charts. And while I'm happy it happened, it's not something that I would predict again. And weirdly enough, the only song since we last talked, the only new song to steadily rise up the charts and become a really stable, long-running hit, a track that is probably going to challenge for the #1 spot next week, ironically enough, is a song that initially faced a lot of flop allegations, and that's Lizzo's About Damn Time. With the boost she's gonna get from listens from her new album, I feel pretty certain that this thing is going to be the #1 song in the country next week, and that will represent the peak of a slow but very stable rise that matches the way that I feel about the song the more I've consumed it. Initially, as a critic and a pop music connoisseur, I was not head over heels for this song. I still don't think it's like a great, amazing track or even a great, amazing single or anything, but as I've been exposed to it in more and more environments throughout summer, particularly digesting this thing in like social settings, hearing it at clubs, hearing it at parties, hearing it around lots of other people has really taught me how magnetic the hook on this song is and how infectious the groove is. There's really a lot here that grabs people, makes it a fun song, makes it an instantly memorable song, and the amount of crowds that I've seen it liven up in just the last month is proof enough that it belongs in the position it is. And while I certainly wouldn't rank it among my favorite Lizzo songs or even my favorite Lizzo singles, I once again find it hard to have any major complaints about it. No, more so the bitching and complaining in this episode is going to come from songs that I wish were bigger hits. A handful of tracks that I am surprised did not achieve the greatness that they seem destined for, starting with two of the best songs I've heard anywhere this summer, period. Not just singles, not just in the realm of pop music, two amazing songs that I really thought deserved to be huge hits. And the first one still obviously has potential to be a big hit. It is the Beyonce single, Break My Soul. I think she knows, and we all know, that if she dropped a music video to this thing, it would be #1 the next week. But I suspect that pure commercial success was not really the intent of this era of her career, and when the full album comes out, I'm assuming it will have some kind of something attached to it that will make this all make sense. But this song is insanely good. I've been in love with it since literally the first time I heard it. It's one of my favorite singles of the year. It's one of my favorite songs of the year. It's got me even more hyped for her new album than I already was. And while it's pretty much lingered in the back half of the top 10, I still think this thing will have as much of, if not more of an impact on popular music than a lot of the other songs that have maybe outstreamed it. I'll borrow something that Todd in the Shadows used to say in regards to Beyonce, that some artists become so iconoclastic that they don't even need hits anymore. They will leave craters in the music industry wherever they go, and that is certainly Beyonce. Her new album is going to do numbers. This single has done numbers, and even if they're not at the level that you might expect them to be for an artist of Beyonce's caliber, there's an argument to be made that they're likely to be more impactful than almost anything else on the charts, and in a sense, that's enough. One of the biggest and most disappointing flops of the summer, though. Disappointing because the song kicks ass, it's so good, and I don't understand why it's not a hit, is Megan Thee Stallion's Plan B. I can't imagine that like the bad karma from Swedish Pie is somehow affecting Megan Thee Stallion's career, and I can really easily envision a world where she releases a new single that becomes a hit, and once it runs its course, stations may start to revisit Plan B and it may become a later stage hit, but I'm just not sure why this thing wasn't lighting up the charts immediately. It knocked my socks off. It's such a great song, so catchy, so hard-hitting. Everything that makes every Megan Thee Stallion song great is present on this track, and why it hasn't been a bigger hit is kind of beyond me. I could take a few stabs at it. I wrote earlier this summer about a general trend within hit songs that was turning towards a much more pleasant, vibey, smooth, driven style, but Lizzo's About Damn Time has smacked that in the face, and I would love for that to wake people up to tracks like these from Beyonce and from Megan Thee Stallion and give them another chance because they deserve it. While we're on the subject with Sweetest Pie, I do just want to briefly mention that track as well as the Kid Leroy's most recent song. I wasn't really sure what to make of either of these two in my last video. I think they're both okay songs. I wasn't sure what hit potential I saw in them, but I have been surprised by their ability to sort of linger. Neither of them have fallen that far. In fact, I continue to hear them both every once in a while, which just makes it nice to see, I suppose. There could be a lot worse crap taking up the charts right now than songs like these, and given how vague I was in my predictions in the last video, I'm claiming a victory on them both. To round up this recap, a couple more stable hits in the country scene. The most recent Morgan Wallen track has probably been the most stable hit song since, I don't know, Fancy Like. Another song that I can't really explain the popularity of, and I don't have much to speak for, but it has certainly managed to stick around, is the Dove Cameron track Boyfriend, which I neglected to even talk about in my last recap because I thought that it was going to disappear, but it's actually managed to really carve out a place for itself in the charts right now. Joji also scored himself a top 10 debut with one of his most boring songs ever, and he's already an artist who has had to really fight the boring allegations over the years, and God, is this song boring. I suppose it's nice affirmation that he has transitioned perfectly into the world of R&B stardom, and you know, good for him, I guess. If he were to come out with another song that was as good as, say, something like Slow Dancing in the Dark, I would love for it to be a really big hit. Finally, a song that I really thought I was gonna need to talk about more, the new Cardi B and Kanye collaborative song with, like, Lil Durk is in there as well. I think I really foresaw this being one of the bigger event songs of the year. The cult of personality surrounding both Cardi and Kanye I thought would propel this thing to a lot of success, and I think the song is decent, but in terms of fan base, I think it's just oil and water with these two, and I'm not sure that it is generating much interest from either group. I'm not sure this was really a collaboration that worked on paper, and while I do think it made a pretty good song, now that I reflect on it from a bird's eye view, it's not really that difficult for me to imagine why this thing is starting to fall down the charts after just 1 week. It wouldn't surprise me if on Namesake alone it manages to snag a decent run on the charts for the next month or so, but I went from when the song was announced thinking that we were going to all be talking about it all summer to having nearly cut it from this video. So that means it's prediction time. And if you know my chart predictions, you know that this part always ages poorly. Yes, you can pay attention and study and dissect the charts all you want, but they are impossible to predict. I will say, if I'm making a couple predictions, it has been a good run for Doja Cat recently, who well after the release of her very mediocre album is still seeing quite a bit of success. Woman was certainly a big success earlier this year, and now Get Into It Ya, probably my favorite of the singles from this record, is climbing into the top 20, and I would predict even more success from Doja Cat because our collaborative song with Post Malone seems to be the breakout track of his new album. It is in the top 20 this week. It seems like it is going to be cementing there. This is a song that I envision people playing a little bit for a really long time. And while we're at it, I feel like I should talk about her Vegas song, which I think is attached to the new Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie. I saw this thing on Bubbling Under the week that it came out, and it has pretty methodically moved up the charts. It seems like as the movie gets closer and closer and then released and people started to digest it and listen to the soundtrack and everything, that this track is getting more and more streams. I have a feeling that it's digging itself into people's brains, and I wouldn't be surprised if even a little bit down the line, this becomes yet another top 20 hit for Doja Cat. And weirdly enough, I guess just purely because of the knack and talent for pop music songwriting at the core of OneRepublic, I just have to say it wouldn't surprise me in the least if this OneRepublic song catches on and takes off. It made a big jump from week 1 to week 2, and I think it's the start of a steady climb. It is confusing, sure, but in the last couple of years we've seen Kodak Black and the fucking Jonas Brothers score a bunch of top 10 hits, so time does not move in a straight line in a linear fashion anymore. It's all fucking over the place, and if that means that OneRepublic have another hit, go crazy. A little bit more of a bold prediction, a song that debuted further back in the charts and has only creeped up in the weeks since then, but one that I think has the potential to catch on, and that is the most recent Halsey single. I'm not crazy about this song, but Halsey certainly has the name recognition to propel a climb like this, and it just, once again, wouldn't surprise me. Keep an eye out for this song. If I do another video like this at the end of the summer, recapping the songs of the summer and looking back on some of my bolder predictions here and on my terrible Twitter accounts, this is definitely a song that I'm going to look out for just to see whether my intuition and my instincts were right about it. And finally, less of a prediction and more of just wishful thinking. Even though I wasn't crazy about his new record, Steve Lacy's Bad Habit is definitely the best song of his entire career, and if it became a hit, it would be one of the best hits of this entire summer, one of the best hits of this entire year, period. It's just a great, great song that I fell in love with so immediately, so instantaneously after I heard it. It made a jump all the way from 100 up to 50, so clearly it's catching on. It will almost certainly make a jump again when combined with Steve Lacy's album streams coming in. And if this thing could just stick into people's conscience and the popular lexicon, if it could continue to gain traction on TikTok and ultimately stick with the radio and become a big hit in the second half of the summer, that would just be awesome. Steve Lacy totally deserves it for being such an underrated and underappreciated talent, and finally I think he's written a song that actually lives up to all of that talent we know he has, and it would just be really cool if he could be rewarded for that with a big hit. And that's it. That's the charts at the moment. Like I said, not a lot of complaining. Normally I would be on my knees or screaming into the void, just distraught at how terrible some hit songs were, and certainly if you search around in the charts you can find a lot of that crap, but thankfully none of it has really caught on, and there hasn't been one song or one artist whose mediocrity we have been force-fed through the radio and through social media for this entire summer, which honestly is about the best you could ask for with pop music. Would it be cool for some of my favorite songs of the summer to top the charts? Yeah, let's see the Hot 100 next week with the new Jessie Ware single and Black Midi's Eat Men Eat. Let's see that up the charts. Let's see Viagra Boys Return to Monkey. When that's a #1 hit, that's when I'll reevaluate my expectations for what the Hot 100 is capable of. But in the meantime, this has been bitching about the Hot 100, no bitching edition, and that's it.